Hi, and welcome to the Cengage video series, Teaching with Impact in Psychology. My name's Laura, and I'm the Senior Marketing Manager for our Psychology Learning Solutions here at Cengage. In these sessions, I'll be joined by teaching instructors across a range of psychology subjects for discussions around some of the challenges facing the teaching community, tips and ideas for how to engage and support your students, and insight into the resources you can use to deliver your course and drive student success. So today I'm joined by Tim Rakow. Tim is Reader in Psychology at King's College London with over 20 years experience of supervising research and teaching research methods to psychology students. He's also the co-author of the first EMEA edition of Research Methods for the Behavioural Sciences. Dr. Rakow uses a range of research strategies to examine human judgment and decision-making. He's published over 50 research articles in more than 25 different journals, is an associate editor for the journal Thinking and Reasoning, and is a principal fellow of the Higher Education Academy. Tim, welcome. I'm so pleased you could join me today.
Well, thank you for having me.
In this session, we're focusing on the research projects that students need to undertake and the skills that they learn as part of doing this. So it'd be great to talk a bit more now about some of the changes that you've seen in research and how that's much more online, how that's changed, and the impact of that on your students as well.
Yeah, so I mean, across psychology, or large portions of psychology, you do see a kind of fairly clear move to more and more research being done online. Certainly in my research area, which is decision-making, judgment decision-making, it's really conducive to conducting your research online. The standard stimuli in a study is some kind of textual input. It's fairly natural to do that online. And as general editor, I would probably say that now the kind of clear majority of the studies described in manuscripts that I see, or as a reader of research, the clear majority of studies that I now read about are ones that were conducted online. And in the update to the textbook that I've been writing for Cengage, that emphasis is there. So, for survey research, the online survey is very much the standard way of doing things, and I've tried to reflect that in the book. But also, running experiments online requires particular extra elements of thinking through the design, and again, try to say something about that in the textbook. And alongside that shift that you see in the research community, this also impacts on students, particularly their research project. So for the last few years, all of my project students, final year project students, have run their research study using an online tool. So sometimes Qualtrics survey software, or another experimental platform called Gorilla that we use as well. And it's really noticeable that the number of participants they can recruit is much higher than before. So a standard criticism of undergraduate projects is they never really had, or they often didn't have enough participants to give a sort of confident set of conclusions. And my experience has been is that with access to online participant pools, that's no longer the case. So it is feasible for a pair of students working together to really recruit quite a sizable number of participants, or even a student working by themselves. And the other nice thing is that a lot of these online tools are pretty accessible. So I'm rarely finding now that I'm preparing the experiment for students to run. They're doing their own preparation of the task, with some assistance. But that's really giving them, a better level of insight into the design, and I think it makes for a better write-up because they've had that hands-on experience of implementing the study, which really gives them a much clearer grasp of the different design features and why they're there. So there's some really nice benefits in terms of student research projects from being able to operate online.
Yeah, that's very apparent, and it sounds very much like the work you're doing in supporting your students to develop these research projects online is really setting them up for what they go on to do next, whether it's their other modules or however far they take their psychology career. It sounds like it is essentially kind of the future of some areas of research. I know it's not going to replace everything, but very much kind of going forward, you see a lot of it.
And not just psychology research, but just so much of working life is online, and being confident with some reasonably sophisticated online tools is a great skill. And not necessarily just the specific tool, but it's about having had the experience of, if I can learn this new tool to do this thing, you're going to have more confidence to learn this other tool to do this other thing. So, as a sort of wider preparation for all sorts of things after university, it does add something.
Yes, very much so. So, you're even kind of feeding into those employability skills that we hear about, an awful lot. I think confidence is a very good starting point for students to, to focus on, to build that. So I can really see that in what you're talking about. And I also wanted to talk to you about how you're talking about them taking on maybe a bit more responsibility of using these tools to do their research, and whether there's been a challenge there for you in supporting that, particularly over the past year and a lot of kind of virtual teaching and remote learning, whether that's affected how you kind of support your students with kind of online resources.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly been a challenge. I mean, a year and a half ago, I found that, having built up a working relationship with a project student, then when, we went exclusively remote, it wasn't such a big issue because actually everything had progressed to a stage where, the last bits of help and support could effectively be delivered online. But, this last year where, some students have had their entire degree as a online or remote student, that there have been particular challenges to kind of just problem solving and kind of explaining things without the same facility to kind of demonstrate something hands-on. But it's certainly doable, even from a 100% remote working relationship.
Definitely, it sounds like it's been pretty successful. So I think that's been a really interesting one for me. I've really enjoyed hearing about these kind of research projects and the benefits to students of learning how to do these things. So I hope you'll find this episode useful. For more topics, please click on the link below to access the rest of the series. If you've ideas for anything you would like covered, or you'd like to get involved, please get in touch via our website. And thank you, Tim, for your time and insight today. It's been really, really interesting.